My name is David Raab. I am 60 years old and I'm a second-generation ornamental plant grower. I started my career when I was probably 5 or 6 years old in Ontario, Canada, where I was born, and grew up on my family's nursery. Today, I am the founder and owner of Roseville Farms, which is a clematis and hemp nursery located in Apopka, Florida. For those of you who don't know what a clematis flower looks like, here's a beautiful example. At a very early age, working at my father's nursery, I realized that I had green thumbs. I was able to not only grow plants, but I was able to propagate plants. The art of putting roots on a little twig. That has been with me my whole life. In fact, when I was very young, I determined that since I was one of very few people who knew how to propagate clematis, that one day I would have my own nursery and all I would grow is clematis. And that came into fruition back in 2001 when we became the largest clematis grower in the world. Roseville Farms is a 31-acre facility with 560,000 square foot of greenhouses and another 45,000 square foot of indoor growing space. All of our space is benched growing space, and we use a combination of mist irrigation and drip irrigation. All of our facilities are covered with a shade poly because of the intensity of the sun here in Florida. So many of our houses, especially the ones where we are vegetatively growing hemp, have lights. We have propagation facilities, which are air-conditioned rooms where our staff prepare the cuttings before they go out into the nursery. And we have a large production warehouse with a potting machine and equipment storage. The most unique pieces of equipment that we have here are coolers, because the clematis that we grow, they are northern perennials, and they require a chilling period or vernalization. And here in Florida, most greenhouses put heat in their greenhouses over the winter, but we actually collect all of our plant material and put it through a cooler at 38 degrees for 6 to 8 weeks. And that prepares our plant material prior to shipping it to our customers. Apart from a few years in university where I got a political science degree, I have always been on the farm, always growing plants. The youngest of 4 children in a family business, my father challenged me one day to learn how to propagate some of the most difficult plant material that the ornamental plant industry has to grow. I'll never forget that the 3 varieties were purple sand cherry, clematis, and French lilacs. And within a few weeks, I had mastered all 3. And I was very proud of myself and displayed the rooted plant material that nobody else seemed to be able to do. And my dad realized at that point, as did I, that I had a particular talent. When the family business was sold in the early 90s, I still had the idea in the back of my head that I would start a nursery and I would grow only clematis, and I would expand the clematis market in Canada at the time. However, when the company was sold, I had a 5-year non-compete agreement, and at the same time, I had an opportunity to move to Florida and to work on another family business. And with that opportunity, my wife and I and our 1-year-old son moved to Florida, and a year to 2 years, it was 2 years later, we started Roseville Farms. And the first plant we grew here at Roseville Farms was a clematis. The first plant we sold was a clematis, and although we sold many other plants between 1996 and 2001, for the last 20 years, we have been exclusively clematis growers. Literally, the house I live in was built on clematis. They come in purple, they come in red, they come in blue, they come in white, pink, and then they come in a range of mixed colors, blue and red, pink and white. That's why we carry so many varieties, because there's so many options. But they're all beautiful, and that's a really good example of a flowering clematis. Although they're a spring flowering plant, when the conditions are right, you can get them to flower all season. In 2001, we recognized that the opportunity to supply clematis en masse to the retail chains was right in front of us. And by 2001, 2002, we were delivering flowering clematis into over 5,000 retail locations across the United States. We were in pretty well every Walmart, every Lowe's, and every Home Depot, along with a few other chains, including Costco. And we were delivering fresh flowering product direct from our farm in Apopka. And instead of selling them as a dormant plant or as a little vine with a big color picture tag that shows you what it will look like, we started growing plants into full flower that were of a size that retailers could handle, and we introduced them to the market. We increased the size of the clematis market and the sales of clematis nationally by 500%. And that was because people didn't need to know what it was anymore. They got to see it in real form, and sales went through the roof. When I was on the couch on oxygen waiting for my lung transplant, I, of course, as you can imagine, after being very active and having an active business that I couldn't go to, became very anxious. And of course, there's lots of drugs that the doctors are willing to prescribe to you to deal with the anxiety that one gets. And although I started that way, I found that the side effects were not favorable. And I asked a friend to procure for me some medical cannabis, particularly ones that had high levels of CBD, and which I had read about and understood helped reduce anxiety. The medicinal effects for me, while I was waiting for my transplant, were incredible. It allowed me to actually be able to think more clearly because I wasn't so anxious, and my mind was not racing with what ifs and what do I need to take care of before it's too late. I didn't suffer. And it was at that time that I realized that medical cannabis is a real thing. And the stories that I was hearing from other people about the help and the relief that they were getting convinced me that this product line is real. This is not just a fad. And I started to do a little bit of research. I had a lot of time. And what I learned was that cannabis has been around for hundreds and hundreds of years, maybe some would say thousands, used in many different cultures for many different medicinal reasons. And that hemp in particular was a major product in the United States back in the times of George Washington. These hemp plants are about 2 weeks away from harvest. They're looking exactly the way they should look. You gotta remember, when an annual plant flowers like a hemp plant and it gets near the end of its flowering stage, the plant is dying. And so they don't always look perfect, but they look exactly the way they should look to produce a good quality product. 2018, the federal farm bill allowed hemp, or legalized hemp, to be grown and shipped throughout the United States. And each state needed to develop their own rules and regulations. And we were a big part of that process. We tested and approved over 30 varieties of hemp, and we did a lot of research here at our facilities, and we financed research to be done at the University of Florida. And during that period of time, we educated ourselves on hemp and made a decision once the pilot program was concluded, that we were going to take on hemp as a new variety to grow and to open up the future of Roseville Farms for the third generation.
I'm very excited about the new business. Having the opportunity to grow a new crop with the family is very special, especially how beneficial hemp is. Knowing that we can help people around the world with high quality, fresh from Florida hemp is a very special thing.
I believe now that I'm educated on the varieties and genetics and on all the different things that cannabinoids and the mix of cannabinoids and terpenes, the benefits, the medicinal benefits they have for people. We looked at the hemp market and we said, the hemp market is lacking in one very distinct area. There's lots of processed hemp material. There's lots of processed CBD. You can get CBD tinctures. You can get it in gummy bears. You can get it in many different forms. And many of them are from reliable sources, and it's a reliable product. The problem that we saw out there was in the smokable hemp. And what we found was that it was being sold at the corner gas station in bottles. We bought some and we looked at it to see what it was, and really it was crappy field-grown cannabis, and who knows where its origin was or what its breeding was, and they were selling it to people to smoke. And I thought, if this continues, this is going to be a blight on the industry, and that the industry in this fashion has to develop, and it has to develop quickly to counter all of this bad product. And we decided, with a great genetics from our breeder, that we were going to focus on the medicinal aspects of hemp, and we were going to provide a high quality, smokable product that was reliable, that comes from a place that is professional, and that produces a product according to the fact that it is a consumable. And as you can see, they're all starting to flower. So they are right on track. 6 weeks from now, they'll be finished and we'll harvest them. So as you see, every 8 weeks, each of these room turns, and we can do this 5 times, if we're lucky, 6 times a year. Now that we finished the pilot program and we're growing varieties, I believe the future for the company and the hemp industry in general is very bright. There is continuing research going on, and there is a continuing understanding of the ability of the cannabis plant to provide relief for many different things. We've called this new venture RVF Hemp, and RVF Hemp is now a reality. We have entered into a partnership with the one of what we think is the best breeders of low THC cannabis. He's located in Colorado. Over the last 3 years, we have refined our process for growing, for drying, for curing, and finished processing. And all we produce is high-quality, finished, smokable CBD hemp, and it has opened up a new future for the third generation. I've had an amazing career, an incredible adventure. The things we've been able to achieve as a family are unbelievable. We never would have dreamt that we would be where we are today. The journey has been amazing. It has been difficult, but it has been wonderful. And to be able to go through it with my family and to be here 27 years later, standing with my 2 sons and my wife, the same 4 that started the business, has been the greatest joy of my life. And to think of what my kids are going to be able to achieve with this business as their base makes me prouder than I could have ever imagined. And like I said, I never would have dreamt for the success. I never would have asked for the success that we've had. But now that I see what's achievable and I see what we've been able to do, I know the future for my kids is very bright. The business we've created is truly phenomenal. The lives that we've touched along the way are immeasurable. But the future of this company and the products we're about to launch are going to change the world.